we're not going to both be able to get in. Welcome to Thursday's edition of Shoes Off Talk. We have to my immediate left, Christy Austin.
Woo woo. Better known as Coco's sister.
And then to my right, we have the man's on the ones and twos.
What's going on? This is your boy Floyd.
So,
Wait. First off, do we all have our shoes off?
Yes. Yes, we do.
yes, we do. We have them off. Let me get my legs
Alright.
out. They're off.
Yes.
Shoes
Yay.
off talk. They're off.
There-
They're off. They really weren't. I took them off. Floyd did too. So today's continuation from last week, where we talked about sex being used as a weapon within a relationship, whether it's a marriage or boyfriend, girlfriend. Is there a title for that? Like, there's marriage, and what would you call that kind of relationship? Just boyfriend and girlfriend?
I don't know. I just stay in relationship.
Friends? Well, anyway, I just want to give a clear understanding that when we speak about subject matter as it pertains to men and women, just because we talk about a specific gender, male or female, it doesn't mean that it only applies to that specific gender. So
Right.
I don't want anybody out there getting offended and saying, well, what about men or what about women? You know, so we speak in generalities on this show typically. And if we're speaking to you, we'll let you know.
Right. Right. Oh,
Yeah, we
we'll
ain't
pinpoint
scared.
it. That's right.
We
We'll
ain't
pinpoint it.
scared. We gonna talk to you. We gonna talk to you. And so we just want to dive back into that this week. We first of all, I want to send up a special prayer and ask all of you that know the words of prayer to say a prayer for Floyd's family. They're going through a difficult time now, and we want to just lift him and his family up in prayer as they go into the weekend where they will be having a funeral for his father-in-law. And so send up a special prayer for him and his family. And just really in general, there's a lot of people out there that is going through it right now. This seems to be the season of growth, and we know that with growth comes tests and trials and tribulations. And I just said this to somebody earlier today. We got to go through it to get to it. Yeah. And so if you're going through it, just know that the devil doesn't have you. When things are comfortable and you ain't going through nothing, that's when you should worry. That's when you should worry. So send up a prayer for everybody in the world. Whether you're going through it or not, everybody needs prayer.
Floyd, I got a shitload of people giving prayer hands and saying prayer warriors.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
There we go. Let's get into it. So we were talking about sex and how it's being used in relationships to, we could say it, to get a desired result, and use it as a bargaining tool. Right or wrong, it happens. What are we gonna lead off with question wise? What Christy has a very interesting and loving group that follows her, and they really are very feedback oriented, and so they had a lot of questions stemming from last week's show, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing a continuation of that this week. Christy, what are some of the questions that they had?
Probably the number one question was, what do you do to get your partner in the mood?
What do you do to get your partner in the mood? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. What do you do?
That's a good one, right?
Wow.
So those of you that are on social media that's watching us right now, you can give us your feedback in the comments, and we will be more than happy to say them out loud. So make sure what you. Yeah, well, hold on. maybe not Christie's people, because they're a little like, this is shoes off talking. We do get a little, we get a little edgy over here, but Christie's group kind of pushes the boundaries of what edgy is. So we're gonna do our best to put your questions out there, but yeah, feel free, in the comments if you have any comment or input on these particular questions. And the question is, what was it? What do we do to get our?
What do you do to get your partner in the mood?
Now, are you asking that? If you feel like,
if you're in the mood and you want to get your partner in the mood, what do you do? Because I feel like this goes back to one of the other questions where we have we're used to quick gratification. So we might be looking at social media and get turned on by something, and you expect your partner to take care of that, and they're like, well, I'm not turned on. Like, I'm not. What do? You can't just get that instant gratification. If you want to be together in this with your partner, they need to be in the mood too.
So are we asking this question as it relates to withholding sex or using sex as a tool, or are we just asking that in general?
Well, using sex as a tool, that can. I was just asked, that was the number one question that I was getting from people, is like, okay, well, what do you do to get your partner in the mood? Because everybody has their own ideas. Like, if it's at the beginning of a relationship, someone might just say, like, sit on their face. But then, there's issues that come up in a relationship. So that goes into another question. Wait, hold on. Let's see.
Okay, I can see how that relates when someone is using sex as a tool and you're the person that they're doing it to. How would you get them to want to have sex?
Yes.
But wouldn't that eventually turn into intimacy? Wouldn't that, because you would have to, if you're saying that, if you're trying to get them in the mood, then you will have to step back and get them prepared for that, so that would turn into more of an intimacy type of thing.
I think in a relationship, intimacy should be there even when sex isn't. It should be. Like, you could be intimate. I think the Oracle, she made a comment last week and said, intimacy isn't about, the act isn't necessarily the act of having sex. So intimacy should be there. I think if we're at the point now to where sex is being used as a tool or as a bargaining tool in relationships, there's an underlying problem there.
Right.
And
that's it right there, is if it gets to a point where someone's using it against you in a relationship, then it's not about somebody being in the mood.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with that.
There's an underlying issue.
There's an underlying issue. So how do you get to that root cause?
So if we want to just skip over it, if we want to just skip over the fact that you got problems anyway, and you just want, how the Oracle say, to get a nut. What do we do to get them in the mood? Maybe
you remember what used to get them in the mood at the beginning. Always go
it's
back
so
to the
funny.
beginning.
It's so funny because you said in the beginning, because as I'm looking at his picture now on the wall, my boy Bill Bellamy has this skit that's part of his show, and it basically is like he starts it off. It's like, hey, you remember when the relationship was new and refreshed, and the whole little kind of caption every time he says something, he goes, in the beginning. You remember when you didn't used to have to ask for head? It was just given to you.
Right.
In the beginning. And so it is true that we have to get back to the things that was exciting in a relationship. Right. And, what are some of those things? What does that look like?
Well, I have somebody that just said, oh, shit, I think I do that to mine. use it against him. So why? Is it deeper issues? Would you like to share? Why do you use it against him?
Well, I mean, if we really look at it as it pertains to women, we're not hard to figure out. Men aren't, and so it's a few things that it's only a few things that is kind of near and dear to our hearts, and that's our kids and punani. I love that word, punani, and money for most guys. And it's crazy because women that controls those things, if they are the breadwinner, if they are, if you have kids with this particular woman, or, the punani, those are the three things that typically, if they're not in a good space or y'all not getting along, those are the three things they're going to do to get at you, because those are the three things that probably mean the most to us as men. And so it's just not, the sex. It's just sex is one of the things that they figured out. Okay, we love that. So hey, let's take it away from them. Either to prove a point or to get what I want. And so I don't want to sound like that this is a good thing, because it's not. Because we're going to talk about later on in the show, we're going to talk about what the results and what the outcome from doing this could be either way in a relationship. And it typically is not a good outcome. And so I would advise, if this is going on in your relationship right now, get it fixed. Get it fixed or get out, because this is just a prelude to what's to come. It'll start with that, but then it leads to other things. So
do you really feel, though, that it's them withholding to punish? Or do you think that it's them not being in the mood because of outlining problems that you could figure out and fix together if you really want to try hard enough?
Well, I think we got to look at what we're talking about. If we're talking about, if the subject matter is using it as a weapon and not just the lack of having sex, it could be a myriad of things. If we're talking about just the lack of sex in a relationship, it could be career, it could be kids, it could be menopause, it could be any of the other medical conditions that women go through, and it could be just life. So there's a bunch of different reasons why sex could be lacking in a relationship, and it could be just as simple as that person's no longer attracted to you. And we that happens. That happens in relationships. Like, it's not a good thing, but it happens. And most of the time it can be avoided, because we get in these relationships and we get comfortable. And so we stop doing the things that made us attractive to that person when we initially met them. We stop caring about our health, which is our weight. We stop doing the things that we knew that person liked, because we just get comfortable and we get settled in, be like, oh, I got him or I got her. I don't have to do the thing, but you do. You do. That was the thing that made you attractive to them. And who knows, that was probably the only thing that made you attractive to them. But then that was the allure that got them in, and then they start seeing other sides of you that made you even that much more attractive. So I think it's important, I think you said it, is that we keep things new and we keep it different and we keep it exciting. Because if we don't, we're opening up Pandora's box. And then you get to the point to where you're not getting what you want in a relationship, and all of a sudden now we're at that point to where we're withholding sex because we think that's the way we're going to get what we want, and it's not. Christy had about. I told them to send me over all of the questions from her followers, and literally there was like. She sent over 20 and told me that she could keep going. So Christy, what's another question? I know we're not going to be able to hit on all of them, but let's get some of the top ones out there. What else was there?
But you didn't really answer my first question. What do you do to get your partner in the mood?
Yeah, we said do the things that we were doing in the beginning that got the mood going. Like
What is that?
Oh, here she go. I knew she.
It's
I knew
more
this
of
was
a
a
detail.
setup.
I
I
already-
knew this was a
I
setup.
already knew that.
I knew
It's
this
more
was
of
a setup.
detailed
Come
type
on, let's
of way.
get into the nitty gritty.
Right.
What are some
I
things
knew it was a
we-
setup. Chrissy don't just ask a question to be asking. She want details. She's
Details. That's
she's
right.
a voyeur. And so, Floyd, give us details on specific things that you can do to get your partner in the mood.
Well, more
He
so,
gonna say, like candles
I
and
like
cook dinner.
yeah, it's the cooking, it's the cleaning,
I knew it.
it's the what else? If she need her clothes washed, I get the washing the clothes.
Believe me,
You
y'all,
know.
that's not the answer that Christy's looking
Hey.
for.
Yes.
Look,
She's not.
it's more of a detailed type of answer because look at it. What that's going to do, that's going to free her mind. And then after she frees her mind, she's more in that relaxed type of mind now. Now you're able to get in where you fit in.
That was what my mom said, actually. She goes, you tell a man that if he wants to get in the pants, you want to turn me on, you want me to be in the mood, you want to get me wet, okay, go clean the dishes, mop the floor, make sure that...
Come on now.
and I
There's
tell-
not
Come
one
on
man.
now.
There's not
I
one
will
man
be-
on here. D, Niles, y'all chime in. There's not one man on here. When you think about turning a woman on, you think about washing dishes or cleaning up or ironing.
That
is
is
the
sexy.
Well,
That is
I tell
sexy.
you what, you better start doing it.
There you go. All right,
God.
Floyd.
You better
God.
start doing
All
it. Come
right.
on.
All right,
now.
we'll go.
Double high five.
Since you high fiving and all of that. Okay, that's the answer.
Okay.
That's the answer we're gonna go with.
That's not
Exactly.
Because
Exactly.
there's relationships that you don't necessarily live together, so that's not every relationship.
That's right.
Floyd is married. That works for him. People who are not married, that won't work. That won't work for me. It'll work for other people that are married. They live together, and the woman needs to release her mind.
That ain't the only thing she needs to release.
Tell us what she needs to release.
So what I'm gonna say is it's a mood. Like you have to set the mood.
How do you do that?
You can't just dive right in. I know that was a little explicit, but I mean it's a mood thing. Like women are not like men. Like you can just put your head in our lap and we good.
We good to go.
You know,
That's
we good
right.
to go.
You're right.
That's
right.
you can say and not even say the whole word sex and we ready. With women, you have to stimulate them, in ways of touch and it really comes down to you knowing your partner and getting to know your partner and the more you know your partner, you know those things that turn them on. And it shows a level of respect and caring and love when those things don't have to be vocalized, when there's nothing that needs to be said. That they love that. They love the unspoken things that what they like. And so it's the touching, the rubbing, the caressing, maybe a choke or two and
You will get backhanded. You try to choke me. That's all I gotta say. No hands around this neck.
Hey, but be careful with the choking. I will say that because
Right.
you mess around and cause somebody to black out. Hey, but yeah, you just really need to get to know your partner, because if you're not in a committed relationship, you can't do the same thing to everyone. It's really, when you're getting to know someone, and if you venture into the sex side of it, that's where communication comes in, and you need to have those conversations. And it's as simple as this: well, what do you like? What don't you like?
Okay, my turn.
Here we go.
My turn. Yeah, it goes back to the beginning.
In
And
the
think
beginning,
about the way you were with that person when you first met, you couldn't keep your hands off of them. Think about the grabbing, the touching, the passion that was behind it, right? Then the passion fades, and it's like, what happened? And especially, and I know a lot of women can't agree with me on this, if there's infidelity or a lack of trust in a relationship, now we don't have that trust, but we're also not feeling special. At the beginning, we're feeling special. You made us feel special. At the beginning of a relationship, everyone feels special. And part of that is he's saying things that he's never said to anyone else. We have sex. That's something he doesn't do or she doesn't do with someone else. That's something that's just for us. I'm special. And then there's infidelity. I'm no longer special. You no longer say those things just to me. I've heard you say it to a bunch of other people. I'm no longer special. Like, what is it that makes me special? Because I want to feel special. You can't just say, kiss and caress and let's get in the mood. No, make me feel special. Make me feel like I'm the only one you want. Like, in this moment. Might not be in 15 minutes from now, but right now, I'm the only one you want.
15 minutes. Wow. Okay.
I mean, if you're in some situations. But, like, if you want me in this moment, you have to make me feel like I'm the only woman in the world. There's one guy, I'll tell you a story, and he might even be on here, that we never had sex. But just his touch, he lives in another country, by the way, so, like, we never got that opportunity, let's just say. But just his touch makes me horny, just thinking about it. Just thinking about it, because, like, I want you so badly, I will devour you. You can see it in someone's eyes, in someone's touch. It's like, I will devour you. That's how a woman, I'm speaking for the women, maybe men too, I don't know. I can only speak for women because I'm one. But a woman wants to feel that I'm special and this person wants to devour me. That's how special I am. So go back to the not just, well, here's a kiss and caress. No, how about that passion? How about the grab, the thing you do with your hands?
What thing do you do with your hands? The listeners want to know.
Let's just say there's not one cell on your body that the person will not touch, kiss, caress, lick, otherwise. Not one part on your body. That's how bad they want you. That's the passion I need.
Men, is there anything that we won't put our mouth on? I need answers.
So you want to know how to get a partner in the mood? I just gave you some little tips.
She didn't give you a little. She gave you a lot. She gave you a lot. So, we talked about and we shared what you can do to get your partner in the mood. But what if it is being used as, what are the results of, or the outcome of using sex as a weapon in a relationship? What is that? What are some of the outcomes that could happen from doing that? I myself, I don't see any positives coming out of that at all. I don't see not one positive of a man or a woman using sex as a weapon against the other. One of the things is you start opening doors for other things to happen when you call yourself withholding something that should come natural in a relationship. And I said this to someone the other day, is like, you have to be careful of the things that you do in a relationships and the takeaways that you do in relationships, because there's always someone watching. Whether it's they are watching to where they're rooting you on, or they're watching to wait for you to fail. And so the last thing you need to do is have other people in your relationship from the standpoint of you know, having open lines of communication, and that's where it starts. Is when that person can't get a specific thing from you, they start talking about it, and then what comes from that is people start paying attention, and you just have to be careful because intimacy and sex in a relationship, that's where you get your connection from. That's where that bond, that emotional bond is built from. It's not strictly the sex, but that connection when two bodies are connected like that, you're sharing energies and you're sharing all these different things. And so when you take that away, you put that energy in the atmosphere and anything can happen. What do you say, Floyd?
Well, my ideology of all this, I have something kind of like it's somewhat the same but different. It's like when you were talking about the how you withhold sex and how you're going through something there, right then and there, when the person is withholding sex from another person, in my insight is saying that there's something else going on. Is that person in pain? Is that person just having something going on within themselves? It might not be somewhat dealing with you or dealing with something going around them, but within themselves. Okay, so if we can pinpoint what is it that they're going through that's having that pain within them, then we can alleviate that and then move on.
Well, I mean, to play devil's advocate, you shouldn't be at the point where you're withholding sex if you're going through something, if you're in a relationship.
But it's hard. It's hard. You can't really say that.
It should not be hard because in a relationship, communication should be number one. And there's a bunch of different other steps to go through first before you get to the point to where you're withholding sex. If you're in a communicative relationship to where your communication is good, it doesn't have to be perfect. You guys are having those conversations about the things that's going on in your life, whether it be your job, whether it be life in general, or kids or family or whatever it is. You're having those conversations. And sometimes when you have those conversations and you have those open lines of communication, you don't have to say anything as it pertains to sex, because you'll know that sex is not going to be something at the time that is going to happen because of what's going on in a relationship. Like, if your wife come home and all she's doing is complaining about what's going on at work and how she hates her job and all of this other stuff, maybe now is not the time to ask for some head.
So you been at the house, huh?
But it's just we have to look at those cues, even as it pertains to sex, because in a relationship, like, once you really take the time to get to learn your partner, you understand that they give cues on specific things, and you have to pay attention to those cues. And as it pertains to sex, like, sex is a mood thing. It shouldn't be a mood thing, but it's emotional, it's hormonal, it's all of that. But when you talk about getting into a relationship, it's you and another person. Sex should not be a mood thing, because if I'm in a relationship with you and you want to have sex, I don't care what my mood is. We're gonna have sex. It's just the way it is. Like, if you want to be able to, if you want to control the relationship, say, well, I'm not in the mood to have sex, and that person's in the mood, like, you're opening Pandora's box. Like, you're opening Pandora's box.
But I like the point that Floyd made, where sometimes it's not a mood thing, it's a physical thing going on, and that's very true. Sometimes somebody just comes home and they're all excited, they just got a promotion, right? They're in the mood, they want to celebrate, and their significant other has a headache. That was number 2, by the way, of my girlfriend
There's no such thing as
conversations
a headache when it comes to
says,
sex.
what if you just have a headache? Sometimes I just got a headache and I just don't, that's just it. So what if that is it? You just have a
There
headache.
is absolutely no excuses because relationships is about sacrifice. And we use that word all the time when it comes to everything else. It is not going to kill you to have sex with your partner if you're not in the mood. Because guarantee you it's going to come full circle when you aren't in the mood
But see,
or the
you're
other
saying
thing.
that, but then it's like if you just want to just have a quickie, I can see that.
Sex
But-
is sex, whether
but-
it's a quickie or not.
No, because
do
look at-
something, give head,
but
or
look, but look,
or
but look, but
or
see,
put your head in my lap, or
That
some.
that energy is not there. That physicality is not there. You're just there. You're just blah.
Okay, I'm gonna give you.
touched
I'm gonna give you. I'm gonna go with Floyd. I'm gonna give you an example that's even more relatable to you. How many times in your life have you just always felt like going to church or praying? So
Going-
every time, every day, you pray. Every day you do what you're supposed to do as it pertains to your faith. You do it all the time, even when you don't feel like it. That is not true.
No,
That is not true.
I don't do it every day.
So would you think that God would be okay with you giving him some of your time?
No.
You don't think God would be okay with that? So why, if we're not okay with giving God some just partial of our time, and we see it's a commitment, and I understand this. I'm not comparing God to anybody
Okay,
else.
I'm like, hold on.
But you have to understand when it comes to marriage, God is the one that put a marriage together.
right.
And if you're equally yoked, that is of God. So do you think God would be okay with something that he put together with you only being able to be committed to that person or sacrificing for that person sometime?
Sometimes when it comes to compromising,
Compromising what?
because think about it, if you're talking about you have to have sex with them all the time when they don't want to have sex all the time.
But you got to
Then
understand,
it's
we're
more
not
about
talking
compromising.
we're not talking all the time. And I said earlier, it's like you have to look at the cues. Like even if I'm horny and I understand that you came home and you're stressed out from work, I'm gonna be considerate and not be like, hey, let's go in a room and have sex. I mean, that's paying
So
paying
you're gonna
attention.
wait till wait later on in that day, then you're gonna say it.
Yeah, you definitely gonna wait until the situation is, to where you have a conversation. So using that example, if my significant other came home stressed out from work, first of all, I'm gonna see if that person wants to talk about it. Because a lot of times people don't like to talk about things right at that moment. They just want to kind of get their thoughts together. And so you have that communication with them and say, hey, how was your day? They may open up and tell you how their day was. Your job as a significant other is to soothe them, to comfort them in their moment of stress. And so at that point, later on, is when the situation is under control, then that may be the time to talk about it. Or that may be the capper that puts them in a better mood. But I just don't think that there's a good and bad time to be intimate with your partner. I don't think so, because that's so easy to say. That's so easy to say. And I know Christy, we've had conversations with you. You ain't never turning down. You ain't never turning nothing down.
What you gotta say,
I
Chris?
just want to say I don't like this whole God analogy because, first of all, you say when you're not in the mood to pray, that doesn't mean he doesn't give 100% of himself to God. He is living by God's word. He is in his actions, in his desires, the things that he does. You don't have to pray 24/7 to give everything to God. It's not
No,
about praying.
I was using
So-
the analogy of are we sometimey with God? You know, I use prayer as one of the analogies, but I'm just saying, are we sometimey with God? And when it comes to marriage, marriage is something that God is sacred. And in God's eyesight, that is a sacred bond. And so if it's something that's put together by God, you need to honor and respect that as it is of God.
Right. That's not just 100% sex either. That's
We're
doing
talking about
dishes.
sex right now. We're not we understand that it's not just sex, but that's the subject right now. We're talking about
But
sex.
what I want to know, Tim, is what do you do?
Why are you calling my name out?
Tim? Because I already think I know what Floyd would. Well, we'll ask him too. But what do you do if your woman says, "I have a headache"?
Well, like I said, you listen to those cues, but also as the woman, if you tell your significant other that you have a headache, that just means that, hey, in my mind, as soon as I'm feeling better, you ain't even got to ask for it.
You failed, Floyd. Just mess with you, Floyd. What do
say
do
you?
if your woman says she has a headache?
Well, I just pretty much be like, okay, what can I do to help you out there?
Okay, that's. I like that.
Is there a way, do you need anything? Do you need me to rub your head? Do you need me to, massage, whatever? Do you need some, what do you need?
Yes.
Because sometimes
Head rubs are the best, right?
So-
head rubs are the best. Maybe she's
Here-
just saying
here-
she has a headache because she wants that head rub.
So what was so different when I said you wait until the headache subsides?
Because you need to
because
be
we're
part of it. You need to say, "Let me touch
well,
your
that's
head.
part
How
of
can
that is
I
that is a
relieve this
given.
headache
That is
for
a
you?"
given. That is a given. If your significant other, no matter what it is, if you're not feeling good, the other person is like, I don't know. I guess that was common sense for me to say to think that no matter what it is, like if you're not feeling good, I'm gonna take care of you. I'm gonna look after you. I just skip going to the cabinet to get the ibuprofen and putting a cold pack or a heat pack. I was just saying that since we're talking about the act of having sex, is if your partner says that they have a headache, then you wait until the headache subsides. And so
Because-
when it's how it's going to subside is you're going to do something, even if it's laying down, taking a nap, closing your eyes.
Because let me tell you, 99% of men that I'd say 99% of people who hear "I have a headache," they turn around and walk away. Okay, later. How many times do you have somebody who sits on your lap and is like, "Baby, let me help. Let me rub your head"? I guarantee you're gonna get the punani.
But you gotta also understand that analogy of a headache is kind of like a running joke. Like the whole world knows what's the most famous excuse for not having sex? A headache.
Yet
So
it's what all of
you
my
have to
friends said.
you have to pay attention to the cues and understand, like, if I just had an argument with you and we're not on good terms earlier in the day, and then I come to you and be like, "Babe, can we have sex? I have a headache." Now, what cue did I give you that it's really not you have a headache? You're just not in the mood to have sex with me. So you have to pay attention to those cues and understand, like, and that's just really communication. It is when you know your partner and she says, "I have a headache." Having a headache doesn't always mean I have a headache. It means that I don't like you right now and I don't want to have sex with you.
So go away.
So go away. Like, as a man, as a woman, those are the cues that we need. I think it's missing in relationships, because the more you communicate, the more you learn those things, those silent things that aren't spoken, and your partner. Like, your partner. When your partner walks in the room, the energy they give off could tell, oh, they're not in a mood. They're not in a good mood. Let me give them their space. Let me give them their space.
So you think that's what's needed when you're already feeling distant from someone, you think what's needed is more space?
Well, once again, I'll say you knowing your partner, and if I know you like I know you, and you walk in a room, and I could tell by your energy, the facial expression, because I'm like that. If I'm going through something, and you automatically bombard me, hey, can I do it? I'm like, let me just give me a minute. Give me a minute. Every human, if they're not, and you could tell when someone is reaching out to you for comfort. You could tell when somebody's doing that. But when somebody is really not talkative, and they're usually talkative, you got to give them that minute. You can't just be like, hey, what's wrong? You good? You want to talk about it? You have to pay attention.
Nah,
to
I
those
won't talk
cues.
about it. Get out of my face.
Like just you have to let that person know. Say, hey, I'm here if you need to talk, and let them come to you, because that can be overbearing. That can be overbearing, and that could push people further into a shell. Is when you automatically bombard them and be like, hey, what's wrong with you? You good?
So what's the whole thing about when a person, it can be woman or man, whatever, and when they get to a point of not wanting to have sex, and they rather be on their phone and go through social media or
That means you are no longer a priority in their life.
so yeah.
And there is, we all said it earlier. If it gets to the point to where you're using sex as a weapon, there's an underlying problem. Like, we're just talking about using sex as a weapon, but there is an underlying problem, especially if you go from having sex all the time to basically not having sex at all in your relationship. There's an underlying problem. And so the next conversation you have should not be about why aren't we having sex. It should be about, hey, what's wrong? What's going on? That's why communication is so important, and is the root cause of damn near every relationship problem is the lack of. And the more you communicate, the less these problems of using sex as a weapon has to happen. And I think one of the most important things when it comes to communication is making that person feel comfortable with coming to you to talk about anything. Because if you have a bunch of conversations that basically are off limits, how comfortable is that person? I mean, just look at your kids. She has a great relationship with her kids, and her kids feel comfortable with coming to her talking about any and everything. But if you're a parent and your kid doesn't feel comfortable with coming to you to talk to you about sex or race or any of those other things, how much are they going to have those inner and outward battles as it pertains to those topics? Because the people that they should be coming to talk to about those things haven't made them feel comfortable with doing it. And that's the same thing in relationships is when you make a person feel with no judgment, make a person feel good, comfortable with coming to you and talking to you about any and everything, then that solves a lot of issues. Solves a lot of issues. Is there any other questions that we have from your listeners?
Do we have? I have to exit out if I'm going to check. Should I look at the question?
So what about my listeners on social media, my viewers on social media? Do you guys have any question as it pertains to the subject matter of today?
But I do want to say one thing. When it gets to the point that you are using sex, withholding sex in a relationship, you both know why.
Yeah.
You both know the core reason, and that differs from relationship to relationship. So the real question becomes, do you want to invest the time and energy in fixing that issue? How serious is that issue? And do you want to invest the time?
That's a very good question, because I think that's the question that a lot of people avoid in relationships is, how serious is this? Because we said earlier, sometimes, one of the main reasons why sex is no longer going on in a relationship is because that physical attraction isn't there anymore. And that's a serious problem. That's a serious problem when the physical attraction is no longer there, and most people in relationships won't communicate that. They won't communicate that. It would be better if they communicated that, but most people won't communicate. I'm just not attracted to you anymore. But the thing about it is like, along with that conversation, if you're just not attracted to someone, you need to dig deep and say, why is that person not attractive anymore? And we said it earlier. Is it the things that you were doing at the beginning of the relationship that you no longer do? Is it the fact that you don't take care of yourself like you used to? And I would dare to say those things that I just brought up are probably the leading ones, because like I said, we get in these relationships and we get comfortable and we think that we don't have to do the things that made us attractive to that person. And it's crazy because like some people that's like I said earlier, that's the thing that made them, you catch their eye. And now you take that away, and so that's why in relationships need to be ever evolving. Relationships need to be exciting and new at all times. And it all boils down to being open-minded to try anything within a relationship, at least have the conversation. Like, and those are the most exciting relationships that I see are when two people have an open mind to talk or try anything that puts their relationship in a area or arena that would keep it fresh. I mean, because we as human, we naturally get tired of, like, we get tired of people in general. I don't care what your relationship is, your wife, your girlfriend, mama. We get on each other's nerves. And so I'm a firm believer too, and this is probably another topic for another day, is I feel like there needs to be at least a couple days a week where you just go off and do your own thing.
Me time.
You have some input there. Another, someone bringing up love language.
Yes, that is very important. And Christy, Christy talks about that all the time. It's like, and that's part of getting to know your significant other or your person is understanding what their love language is. And sometimes it's just as easy as asking a question, especially even in new relationships, getting to know someone. What's your love language? These are questions that you can ask from the beginning. In the beginning.
What do you think about that, Floyd? About the love languages? You've read that book, the five love. Okay, so let's just bring up the love languages. What they are? There's physical touch. There's quality time. There's words of affirmation. There's words of affirmation. Where you do for the. Come on, Mia, help me out here. What are the other ones? Words of affirmation. The acts of service, and I said my two. That's all that matters. I'm kidding. Words of affirmation. Acts of service.
Is acts of service the same as acts of kindness?
Well, that's not on the list.
Affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts.
Oh, that's it. Gift
time,
giving. Yes. Gift. That's not one of mine. So I forgot about that one.
But,
yes, gift giving.
But in twofold, I think it's important that you know what your love language is.
Very important.
For yourself.
Because
for yourself.
Think about it, like, we love others the way we want to be loved. So, and that's where a lot of relationships that you clash, because when you're first in a relationship, you're doing all of them, right? You're giving flowers and you're giving those words of affirmation and you're touching and you're having quality time and acts of service, all of it. You have all of it. And then you realize that once time goes on, you're not necessarily doing all of it, but you need to focus more on the two that are the number two of your partners, not yours. And that's where most people clash, because you don't have the same love language, but you love the way you want to be loved. So for me, because it's physical touch and quality time, I might be like, oh yeah, like all over, and that person's like, I don't really like to be touched that much, stop touching me. And theirs is a words of affirmation, so it's yap, yap, yap. And the other person's like, okay, show me, don't tell me. I want you to show me. Like, words mean nothing to me. So you get in this like conflict where it's like that if your person likes words of affirmation and gift giving, bringing home flowers and writing them little notes for them to wake up and see all the time, like that's going to work for them.
I don't know nobody like that.
You don't know about that?
I don't know nobody that's like that. Write me a note.
Oh, yes. Yes, I know, actually.
I wish somebody would write me a note. Don't ever write me a note.
I'm telling you, I've had, it's gotten my communication, I can't speak,
blah, blah,
my
blah.
communication skills improved because I'd have to say every single man that I've been with, love language was words of affirmation.
Mia said, "Oh, notes are the best."
Yes, Mia, she's a words of affirmation girl. I love you, Mia. So, but I'd have to say, every man that I've been with, that one of their main ones is words of affirmation. And because I don't really care, I'm a show me, don't tell me kind of girl, I've had to really step up my game and like, okay, let me think what I want to say here. What about a, text? What about a phone call? Like, these are things that like I necessarily didn't do before because I wouldn't care to, because like that's not what did it for me. You have to think about your partners. What does your partner like?
I like the words of affirmation because, especially with men, is we don't hear enough how much we're appreciated, because the things that we do are things that most people think that we're supposed to do. And so that's why the affirmations they don't come as regularly for men, is because we are put in these positions where, you are doing something and most people think, okay, that's what you're supposed to do. But sometimes those words of affirmation just gives us that extra that allows us to go on and push forward, and understanding that everything we do, man or woman, it's important, and it's a significant role. So words of affirmation, I don't know if that's my love language. I gotta look at how do you find out what your love language is? Is it just your life experiences or what you found over your life that you appreciate more? How do you is there a chart that you go to and based on your birthday?
You feel no, it's all you. Everyone's individual. What do you feel? How do you feel the most loved? When somebody tells you they love you, when somebody touches you, when somebody says they want to spend quality time with you, when somebody washes the dishes for you, how do you feel loved?
I already know what mine is.
All right,
with you
what's
saying
yours?
that, my love language is anybody that's willing to give me their time.
So quality time is one.
Quality time.
What's the second?
I'll probably have to say affirmations.
Okay.
Quality time and affirmations. Words of affirmation.
Okay.
Don't leave me no notes.
You just say it to him.
Don't leave me no notes. That's not it. I know for a fact that's not it.
Tim saying don't leave him no notes, but he's saying text him, message him.
Text him, message him.
Give him all the information you can give him.
You know what? That actually is a good point. Like, even with words of affirmation, I think the delivery and how it's being delivered is important and determines your affirmation. Like I said, if you write me a note, that doesn't carry the same value.
No?
If you send me a text, I like a text, but you know what's even better? If you pick up the phone and call me and talk to me and give me those same affirmations. So I think there's levels of affirmation. Don't leave me no note, though.
You know what I used to do? And I think it's probably the most appreciated at the time because my partner would wake up super, super early, like 4 a.m. to go to work. And I knew that, like, I wouldn't see him, and we wouldn't be able to talk most of the day just because of the job that he had. So I'd wait until he'd fall asleep. I'd write him a note, put kissy lips on it, stick it on his door of his car. So first thing in the morning when he walked out to his car, he'd see my note with the little, lips. But it was my way of saying, like, I love you. Even though we're not going to talk today, you won't see me today, but, you still see my little kissy lips, and I thought enough about you to run out here, even though I'm asleep at the moment, So if you know that, like, that's not something I would normally do because that's not something I would care to receive, but knowing that that was his love language, I wanted to be sure that, like, he received that he knew that I,
Actions.
Yeah, it was the action.
And actions do speak louder than words. And I think, that is also a topic of a later topic that we're going to talk about is when is saying I'm sorry enough? When is saying I'm sorry too much? Like I said,
that's actions following with the words. You say you're sorry, but are you continuing to do the thing you say you're sorry for?
Okay, I'm gonna sum it up like this. Sorry is nowhere equal to change behavior. If you really want to be sorry, change your behavior. And you will never have to use the word sorry. Because to me, sorry is a filler. Sorry is an excuse. Sorry is a backhanded word to me because it's so overused and not used in the right way. Don't give me sorries. Give me change behavior. All right, y'all. That concludes.
Mic drop.
That concludes this. That concludes today's show. I just want to thank my co-host, Christy Austin, and my guy Floyd. We always have really interesting conversations. I really appreciate all the feedback that you guys are giving us on social media. We're trying to perfect this thing, and we know that perfection is never going to be achieved, but as long as you strive for perfection, even if you fall short, you'll be in a space that most people won't go to. And so, like I said, we appreciate you guys tuning in today. We ask that you come back Saturday at 5 o'clock. Oh, our Saturday at 5 o'clock show will be canceled. We're just going to post a previous show for that date, a pre-recorded show for that date. Floyd, once again, keep Floyd and his family in your prayers. They are attending the funeral of his father-in-law this weekend. So lift him up in prayer. Just want to let him know we love him and we're thinking about him. And we always want the best for him. And really for everybody out there, I know a lot of people have hit me up and a lot of people are going through it right now. And so we just ask that you keep your head up, stay prayerful, keep those people around you that's going to lift you up, and stay away from the people that take away from you. We love you, and we end the show with love, peace, and soul.